You are set.
So this is Senate Transportation. It's Wednesday, February 12th. We're going to resume our testimony with PMD and we're talking about their budget.
Yes, Andrew Collier, Commissioner DMV for the record, and thank you for having me here to talk about the FY26 budget for DMV. We'll go to the second slide. And this is just showing just a quick snapshot of where we are fiscal year 25 budget versus actual. And that we're around 47.5%. So we're right on target for this fiscal year. Can I just say that because fiscal year 24, I think there's approximately 3.8 million that was carried forward into the AOT Transportation Fund. We're right on target this year, so we're not expecting any carry forward. Third slide. Just break down the fund sources coming through DMV. I just want to notate that this number is higher than the number of revenue that VTrans uses, and this shows the purchase use tax that flows to the ed fund. So that's why this number is higher than the one that you'll see in presentations from the rest of the agency. On the fourth slide, so this is the governor's recommended fiscal year 26 budget. I won't go through every item on this. I'll touch on the big ones. On the right, under personal services, the last bullet, 1.85 million, and that's an increase for the FAST core system modernization. As we move from the implementation phase into the maintenance and operation phase, that's where that increase is happening. And again, that the last phase of that system goes live November of this year. Under operating costs, we're showing a couple of decreases. The big one was a fourth bullet down, 420,000 decrease, and that is reference postage usage going down because previously we've had, before the new system, say I was at the Springfield DMV location, they would actually mail materials up to Montpelier. That's no longer needed. We scan items. There's less mail going out to customers. So we're bringing that number down as well, or for postage and printing services. Outside of that, small incremental increase, 57,000. That's not small, so a large number, but we had some equipment increases, printers, copiers for the offices that are severely dated. And that's a snapshot. Any questions? Happy to dive into any other big areas. The next slide is the crosswalk. Dives into that some more. It's pretty lean and straightforward budget this year.
Go ahead.
Well, I brought this up last time and to feel like obligated to bring it up that the administration complained a lot about our increase in DMV fees and basically said we were irresponsible for doing it and hurting Vermonters, but yet the governor's budget doesn't propose to decrease the fees or decrease that revenue. So I'm just questioning why the difference of complaining about it and saying that we were wrong to do it, but yet not proposing not to accept the money.
Before my time, I can get an answer for you on that. Guys, I don't have a response for you on that.
Just kind of follow up on that because my recollection is that it was a relatively minimal amount. So do you remember?
It was
do you have it off the top of your head?
19.7%, so it was a large
But,
number.
but of the individual persons, like, was it like $6 or something? For some,
Yeah, I mean, if you think of it, moved to $89, I think you get 20% of that, that's like $16, but it was, that's what it went up to, so it was, I think it was only a few dollars per person, I don't know.
yeah, I just think that. Just for the public who's watching this, who, might not recall the details, because I don't recall all the details, but my recollection was that the dollar amount per person. Especially when you look at how it would have increased in previous decades.
Right.
So this was a makeup amount.
Right, we didn't raise it for years and years, so. We tried to catch up from all the years that we didn't, it hadn't been updated. It's 2016, so if you just did like 3% a year, then we were kind of catching up with inflation. And given the revenue difficulties of the agency and of the department, we thought it made sense to increase those fees. But yeah, we got called out publicly for doing so as we were hurting Vermonters. I don't, it seems just an incongruence of saying you're hurting Vermonters. That was a mistake. I'm going to point it out to all Vermonters during the election process, but yet I'm not going to propose to lower the fees or the rate. This makes it difficult for us to do our jobs, to get beat up by it and then not have the people that are beating you up about it propose not to do the same thing.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Senator Furtick. I really appreciate that point. I realize this year would not be a traditional fee bill either way. But next year technically would we traditionally expect a fee bill, or historically when we would have
Every 3 years.
every three, is that the third year? Is it next year? Maybe I've got my years wrong, but we typically have experienced a fee bill coming to us as a legislator prior to Phil Scott's term as governor. And I'm wondering if you, as the DMV commissioner, if we can expect that during your tenure.
I don't know yet.
Oh,
Short of that, yes, we haven't dived far enough into it. That's what portion yet to give you a yes or no on either way on that.
so when we look at your budget and there is that 2.25
Yep.
million increase.
Yep.
You probably could expect to see that next year. That seems reasonable for this year. You probably could expect to see that in the future years. How would you expect to raise the revenue to meet that demand? Or should we expect that you're going to come and propose cuts to service in future years?
Well, I think there's a question on the table about the JTOC, which is pulling that money outside. And I know that an area of reduction of services, both hours and locations, was proposed if that, if we had to use the JTOC, finding revenue sources to fill that in. Going forward, I think it depends on where those costs kind of align for the yearly cost, wages, healthcare, kind of all those baked in operating costs. So it's something when we craft the next budget, we will have to look at. I unfortunately at this moment don't have that crystal ball to say where that's direction's going.
Okay, but I guess I don't see in this budget any investments with the hope of reducing cost in the future. Or are there cost reducing measures that you would be putting in here that I'm not seeing?
So we have the reductions with that are occurring right now with the FAST system.
Okay.
So you're seeing that with the postage decrease happening. And then, we're asking the departments to find their efficiency. So right now, for example, desk phones. Right now, we're in the process of reviewing who needs, and actually uses desk phones if we have a department cell phone or, because what we're finding is those are just sitting there collecting dust, and that is a cost that we're spending to ADS, which, we're finding those efficiencies and those cost savings. So that those incremental changes, that are happening, or just internal, that's just an the operational thing that we're doing right now.
Okay, that's really helpful. Yeah, it seems like with your operating costs, you have a lovely reduction of that 3.5%, but still, even with that decrease, you have an overall increase. So I think that's kind of where I'm feeling the tension, which is you're definitely taking some really good steps for efficiency, but it's still not cutting at that traditional increase that we're seeing year over year for DMV costs while maintaining our services. And I'm also hearing from my constituents a desire for increased services or increased access to DMV services with in-person locations being full-time versus 1 or 2 days out of the week. So it seems like based on this budget, you're not preparing necessarily to avoid a fee bill in the future, but you're also unlikely to bring one potentially to us. So I think that leaves it to us as a legislature to contemplate what we do in that absence of a proposal, I guess is what I'm thinking. But my only other question I would have is, what is the rental property decrease about, and where is the reduction? Oh, I apologize. I misunderstood. I thought, so I saw that under the decreases, so I apologize. You're increasing your rental property, but how is that decreasing your operating costs?
Pass that to Renee Coda, our Director of Finance.
So the ISFs, the internal service funds, they've all increased more than 6%. So that is not just the rental cost, which is renting from BGS, using BGS's buildings, but that also would answer the previous question, where primarily our increase is based on the FAST system and payroll. And the payroll increase of that with benefits of more than 6%. We reduced that in this budget by the 14 limited service positions that we gave back, because at this point in time with the FAST system, we no longer needed them. So we're always looking for efficiencies. And I'm sure that in the future, as we go through with the finishing implementation of the FAST system, we'll be able to find some additional efficiencies. But at this point, we don't have a crystal ball, and we don't know exactly what this will be.
So the rental property change is not actually a property change, but rather the internal. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Thank you.
So, I'm gonna jump. So it's fair to say in the overall, we're downsizing the existing workforce within DMV. But the shift that's being made is to third-party contracts outside for IT.
Yeah, so just, I think it might be easier to
Because
explain
you have the line item that's contractual and third party, which is the 22% increase.
Yeah.
And you're eliminating 14 positions.
Those 14 positions were brought on for the beginning of implementing the FAST system. And with as close as we are, we have found at this point with all of the efficiencies that we no longer need them. So they're limited.
But it would appear that you're moving to third-party contracts.
No, not.
Because you've got a $1.8 million increase there.
That's it's the cost of the system. The system is expensive.
Oh, that's the software.
Yes.
So this is the moving from the implementation 50.2 million into the maintenance and operation, which is, I think, another 50.2 spread out over the life cycle that was budgeted by legislature. So this is that increase is moving from the implementation phase into the maintenance and operation phase of this contract.
But it's still being all done through contracts. So we're moving our costs outside of our own employees and making that shift in the overall in this budget.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually had a similar question because so the contractual and third party services, we have the 10 million, because that's part of personal services. Right? Because you have the 14, 8, and the 9, and the 10, that's the 34. Right? So this part of the spreadsheet, are those contractual services considered personal services?
Yes. Yes, contractual services are considered in that, the personal services
Okay,
category.
so that's really interesting. So that's people, not just programming. But that's just not just systems. I mean, often it would be in operating expenses or something. I guess I would just like to know more about this, please,
Right.
at some point.
But
Because it looks-
we're asking
it's the same
you're
question.
asking the
Yeah.
same question.
Yeah.
And those are contracts to run the IT system with third-party contracts that are outside of state government.
Okay, but it's also license card production, vehicle data and evaluation, VIN verification, courier service, call center services.
Right,
I mean, call centers
right.
can work, but they can also be not good for customers. And if we're outsourcing our people, it's the same question.
It's the same
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, but I would like to know. At some point. I get that.
It seems to be the biggest shift within the budget.
Yeah.
And is this new this year?
Yes, this is the budget. You're looking at the 1.8 is the increase from 25 to 26.
Okay, but you did have last year 8.3.
Yes,
Okay.
but it's where there's a 22% increase in the budget and so the overall shift is to outside of state government.
I guess I'm not following that because this is following with the implementation with the ABC IT form. So we're moving from the development.
Are the
phase.
contracts for those IT services third parties outside of state government, or are they, or is this with, DII or what's happening there?
Just want to make sure I'm following correctly. So you're asking where the contract is parked, where it lives within,
Who are we paying?
yeah. So this is FAST. That's the one that Tax and Waiver are using. I guess, so it's now, to be outside,
So it's
State government.
outside of you.
yes.
Is it outside of state government?
Yeah, so it's a vendor.
It would be a breakdown of where the money's going would be helpful. So we can understand, because that's the biggest shift within this.
Slot.
Other than that, there doesn't seem to be a lot of change in any of your budget.
No. The team put together a very lean budget before we got here, so,
And there doesn't seem to be any new initiatives here.
no, this is, really, we're in that final phase of bringing the rest of the system online.
Yep.
So,
Totally get it. But the breakdown of where those contracts and what we're doing and where are we moving those funds within your increase? And it would appear that we're not employing people within our department. And I don't know enough to be critical or to praise it.
Yeah, and I think just one thing on the reduction in personnel though, it is so when the legislature passed for the core modernization project three years ago. Because FAST moves within state or they operate within the state with their IT team to develop those 14 positions or 13 positions, we have full-time employees that went to go work there, and these limited service positions were brought on for this. So the reduction is as we're getting close near the end for the implementation portion of this, the limited service, those folks are coming back into the fold, and the limited service we're no longer needed. So that's where that, if that makes sense. It's not full-time FTEs that we had that we're reducing. It's people that were as part of the development of the FAT core system.
How many full-time positions is there in your 25 budget? And how many is there in your 26 budget?
245 in FY 25 and then 231 for FY 26.
What was the first one?
245.
Oh, okay, so that is the fourth.
Yeah, that's the 14. Go ahead.
I have a question on the vacancy savings. It says calculated as a percent of salaries. Is that based just like, you took 5% of all salaries? Not of positions, or did you do positions and then do the salaries at those positions, I guess?
I can answer that. So it's 5% of salaries and benefits of the budgeted amount of salaries and benefits for this year.
Okay, so you just took the total wages and then said that 5% of that would be vacancies. Is that the way the DMV has always done it, or as far as you?
Yes.
Okay, so do you know what your vacancy savings is for number of positions? But
The number, I think it's currently, as of yesterday, the number of vacancies, not vacancy savings. There's approximately 10 vacancies right now.
10 out of 240, so like also around 5% or a little less than 5%.
The vacancy savings isn't based on vacancies, it's based on the time of a
Right.
position being.
You have to calculate the savings, yeah, but I just wondered what your vacancy rate was per positions. As a percentage of.
I do not.
Positions. Sounds like it's.
Well,
Right around 4 to 5%.
Yeah.
It's quite common in agencies to balance budgets based upon vacancy savings, and then they come back in a budget adjustment.
Yeah.
So, from what I'm hearing, your vacancy savings is around 5%. It was 5% before. It's a number that you have to manage to.
Yes.
And that seems reasonable, 5%.
Yeah, 5% is not. But it's not an increase. The vacancy savings number is not an increase from 25 to 26. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When you look at the future for DMV and your budget, are there any major things that we should be expecting? The core, I realize you're probably like, okay, we just did the core, we're probably not going to take on any giant projects moving forward, but is there anything that we should be anticipating or expecting that isn't
Not-
inherent?
No, I think there's a conversation down the road on changing what the makeup of the license plates are from where the last state to do the way we're currently printed, which is very mechanical and labor intensive way. Just me in my seat for a short time. I think there's an opportunity there to create efficiencies and develop the new license plates.
And we pay corrections to do this, like that's
Correct,
a payment
yeah.
from DMV to corrections?
Correct. Yeah, VCI or corrections. I'm not sure what the actual saying of that is, but we have a contract with them, internal contract, for them to create the plates.
Okay.
So we're the last state to,
We're the last state to have the emboss, the way they, I guess, do the markings on them, but it's a mechanical, like they physically go in and change the dies for each two sets of license plates. So, for instance, had a slight delay for getting legislative license plates coming out is it's the process of them going in and changing each die color scheme, and it creates a very labor intensive and
How do other states do it?
screen printing actually.
No,
So now you can print one plate, you can print two, you can change from a veteran's plate to you just stick it in and print it.
and if we switch to that, the contract ends with, corrections.
No corrections would still do that service. Just be different equipment.
I remember many years ago, we had to recall a bunch of license plates because they were deteriorating. It was like a specific series. So when you look at the reasons that it switched, was it because of the quality and the cost, or was it's easier to do?
I think it's just easier to efficiency when you're talking large quantities of printing. Doing a mechanical die and doing a press is not efficient.
But it wouldn't degrade the quality. We wouldn't.
Yeah, I think you would increase the quality of what we're running into with the beta plates stuff.
Would it be less expensive?
No, I think it depends. It's a calculation we're doing internally, but you can fit more of the plates in packaging. There's slightly more, but you can fit more in the packaging, and they weigh less. So finding it's gonna be close on the efficiency on the actual price per plate. So it might be slightly higher.
Would this make it easier if somebody wanted to print emojis? License plate?
Jeez.
It's I will
Did you really ask that question?
I will
Bring it back up.
I will just say it is a more current printing that you can print different things on it.
Oh,
So yes.
29. Senate license plate number 28, what's in a motor? Did you have?
No, I mean, I have a profound respect for DMV, and I think I mentioned this before, but I think of civil servants like DMV, you've got a lot on it. Like you've got some of the best people. And it doesn't really show up in your budget necessarily, besides just like the large personnel number. But my expectation is you're going to be experiencing a lot of retirements if you're not already experiencing a lot of retirements. And if you ever want to have a conversation about that in this room, I would be very open to it, because I don't know how that would impact your budget. I assume that there's a lot of folks who have stuck around for a long time, and as they continue to move up the ladder pay scale, that can take a lot of air out of some of the other places in the budget. But I don't know, that's just a bigger conversation. I really respect all the work that you have, but you do seem to have some of the longest tenure professionals at DMV, to your credit.
It's not to my credit. I'm walking into a great team. So it's there, and thank you for those words. I know the team, I'm very proud of the group that's over there, and they do great work. So want to keep that going.
At that point, thank you. And if we could get a breakdown on the third party.
Yes, absolutely. We'll get that sent over.
Right. Oh, we have Logan. And
Oh,
I think Logan's our last piece. And this shouldn't be long, it should be nailed. But I thought before, appropriations votes to, EAA out. we had two very small businesses.
Can I ask one good question about the DMV fee?
After he gives his name and, serial number, then he's total game.
Okay. For the record, Logan Blueberry with the joint fiscal. I don't know my serial number.
Do you wanna, run through the two small things you've got, or would you wanna take questions?
Let's do these first. They'll be real quick. So in the BAA, as passed by the House, there are two minor technical changes that were made related to transportation. The first can be found in section 52, is changing D101, the funds transfer section. So here, what page are we on? If you're interested, 32. There's a change within the transfers coming from the transportation fund. So there was a duplicate essentially transfer. This Vermont Recreational Trails Fund exists within statute, and then it also existed within the budget. So we're removing the one from the budget, so it only occurs once.
Yeah.
This is per legislative intent. There's no real effect. If we don't do it, we have to transfer some funds twice, which we don't want to do. The other one, even smaller, is in the next section, 53, the reversion section at the very bottom. Department of Motor Vehicles is reverting $2,500 that they got in FY21 for a project. This is really just minor technical changes. That's all transportation related stuff in this year's BAA.
This is me.
So there's nothing really there.
Oh, 37.
Now, you got a question for it?
Can you, well, I had asked you about DMV fees before, and I was found your email. I'm not expecting you to know stuff you exactly has, but back then you said, oh, when we have January numbers, we know we would have a full year of how much the
For additional revenue raise.
Yeah, it looked like you were saying it was like 16.8 million. That, am I getting that right? That's what
I think
the registration fee increase that we made is resulting in $15 million about of additional revenue.
I think at the time when I sent that might have been correct. I can go and let's see.
You also mentioned that the fee increase accounted for 5 million, but maybe that was just for the part of the forecast increase.
So. So as of December and so attributing it directly to the fee increase will be hard to break out because there could be just an increase of people paying DMV fees, but
Right.
this is as of December 31st. This would have been about a year of implementation. You look at motor vehicle fees, they were up a total of 24.2% year over year. Now, some of that you can see is not straight from like the registrations or driver's license fee. So I think
The
it'd be,
fee increases were all across the board. Fees.
They were across the board.
Electricians.
Yep. So again, what percentage of these increases we saw were directly as a part of that? I think it was like 19.6% increase overall. I would guess 19.6%, and then a portion of that is from maybe more people moving into the state and using DMV services or other sort of.
So that registrations, so it would be driver's license and registrations mainly.
And there were a lot of other fees on there. There was a few I don't know how many.
They would all be within that.
They would all, most of them, yes, unless there were some other specific ones, but
So
they
it's
would,
$10 million total, but not all of that was gonna be from that.
correct. As what we've seen from year over year.
So you would say it's only 20% of that 10 million,
Um,
if you had to make up an
no,
estimate?
I guess I don't know. I guess I would have to look and see before I made any comment, I suppose.
Cause yeah, that's why I was, your email wasn't sure if it was 5 million or the 19 million, but I guess looking at that, it seems like it makes more sense that it's 5 million. But that would be the difference had we not increased the fees. That's the kind of question. If we didn't increase the fees, what would be their debt? Well, how much less money would they have today?
Yes, I understand your question. I guess I would have to look. I don't know off the top of my head what that is, but
Yeah, and you can look at the email that you had sent.
Yeah.
Before December 4th and just see like,
you see.
you had already done some analysis, but I wasn't sure rereading it. For an annual basis, what we thought that increase generated as far as revenue for the department. But, and you don't have to do it right now, so you don't have to.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but
Yeah.
I can follow up with you on that for sure.
Okay, thank you. That's fine.
You,
Go ahead.
can you isolate, just give me those, sections again that where the changes were? Pages would be fine.
Oh, in the BAA?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
37, page 37 is the second one.
Are you doing it in the bill as passed?
Yeah, so this is as passed by the House. I don't know if you've made changes. yet to
114,
our-
is that the number?
Yeah, 114, it is page 37, as mentioned, and then page 32.
Thank you.
Of course.
Perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
I think at this point, we'll go off